Ambassador Telia Richardson stood before the mirror in her quarters aboard the diplomatic vessel Stellar Dawn, adjusting her formal uniform one final time. The sleek, navy blue fabric, with its silver trim, represented humanity's best attempt at projecting both authority and approachability to alien species they'd never met in person. Final atmospheric checks complete, Ambassador called out Dr. Vikram Patel, the mission's lead xenobiologist, his voice carrying a hint of excitement beneath its professional tone. The reception chamber is being filled with the Council's universal neutral gas mixture. Thalia nodded, trying to quiet the flutter of butterflies in her stomach. After 15 years of long-range communications and careful negotiations, humanity was finally ready to take its place among the stars. The Galactic Council had seemed impressed by Earth's rapid technological advancement and cultural richness. Everything was proceeding perfectly according to plan. If only she knew how wrong she was. The first sign that something was amiss came during the final airlock cycle. The ship's ARIA reported an unusual reading from the Council chamber's atmospheric sensors. Ambassador, detecting elevated energy signatures from the Council's environmental systems, the area announced, its tone carefully neutral. Within expected parameters? Thalia asked, glancing at Vikram. Affirmative, but at the upper threshold, ARIA responded. Vikram frowned at his datapad. They're probably just being cautious with the atmospheric mix. We are a new species, after all. The massive doors to the Council chamber slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a sight that took Thalia's breath away. The chamber was a vast amphitheater, its walls lined with shimmering force fields containing different atmospheric conditions for various species. Crystalline beings floated in pools of liquid metal, while gaseous entities swirled in their own contained environments. At the center, the High Council members waited. Representative Zurix, a towering figure composed of living crystal, cast rainbow refractions across the chamber. Beside them, Elder Newm's tentacles swayed gently in their methane atmosphere, while First Speaker Thal's energy form pulsed with subtle patterns of light. Thalia stepped forward, her rehearsed greeting ready on her lips. But before she could speak, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. Red warning lights flashed as emergency containment fields sprang to life around the human delegation. Contamination detected. The Council's AA system announced. Emergency protocols engaged. Dangerous oxidizing agent detected in human biological processes. Panic erupted in the chamber. Crystalline beings began vibrating at frequencies that made Thalia's teeth ache. Gaseous Council members swirled in agitated patterns, their translators spitting out fragments of alarmed communication. They're oxygen breathers. First Speaker Thal's voice boomed through the translator. Their very cellular processes are toxic to most Council species. Vikram's eyes widened with sudden understanding. Of course, he whispered. We never considered. Oxygen is one of the most corrosive elements in the universe. To most life forms, it's incredibly dangerous. Thalia watched in horror as the Council members retreated to safer distances, emergency fields strengthening around them. 15 years of careful diplomacy were unraveling in seconds, all because of something as fundamental as their biology. Please, she called out, her translator working overtime to convert her words into something the panicked Council could understand. We can explain. Our biological processes may be different, but we've developed technologies to ensure safe interaction. Silence. Elder Newm's tentacles writhed in agitation. You bring weapons of mass destruction into our sacred chamber. Your very bodies are biological oxidizing agents. The humans must be contained. Representative Zurich's crystalline form vibrated with authority. Until we can determine if safe interaction is possible, they are to be quarantined. As additional containment fields sprang up around them, Thalia felt a strange calm settle over her. This wasn't the end. It was an opportunity. If oxygen was so dangerous to these species, then humanity's understanding of it could be invaluable. She turned to Vikram, who was already pulling out chemical analysis data on his pad. Dr. Patel, how quickly can you put together a presentation on controlled oxidation in medical applications? A slow smile spread across his face as he caught her meaning. Give me an hour. I think I know how we can turn this disaster into the greatest technological exchange in human history. The containment field hummed around them as Thalia squared her shoulders. They had come too far to fail now. If humanity couldn't join the galactic community as equals yet, they would make themselves indispensable allies. After all, sometimes the most dangerous elements could become the most powerful tools, if you knew how to use them properly. Inside the containment field, Dr. Vikram Patel's fingers flew across his datapad, decades of research flashing before his eyes. Beside him, Ambassador Richardson paced with controlled precision, her mind clearly racing through diplomatic scenarios. The council chamber had emptied of all but essential personnel and security drones, their crystalline forms glinting under the harsh emergency lighting. "Look at this," Vikram said suddenly, projecting a holographic display. Their medical records show a persistent problem with cellular degradation in most council species. They'd never found an effective way to break down damaged tissue without harming healthy cells. Thalia paused her pacing. And controlled oxidation could be the answer. Exactly. Vikram expanded the display, showing molecular structures. Their bodies never evolved to handle oxygen, but that's precisely why it could be revolutionary. Targeted oxidation therapy could transform their medicine. A soft chime interrupted them as first speaker Thal's energy form appeared on a secure communications channel, safely separated by multiple layers of containment fields. The being's light patterns shifted in what their briefing suggested was uncertainty. "Humans," Thal's translated voice emerged. "Our preliminary analysis of your biological data is disturbing. You not only survive in oxygen-rich environments, but require them. Your bodies actively use oxygen in energy production. This should be impossible." Thalia stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in. "First speaker, what you see as impossible, we see as opportunity. Dr. Patel has prepared a presentation on controlled oxidation therapy. Will the council be willing to review it?" There was a long pause, during which Thal's energy patterns swirled in complex configurations. "Proceed," came the eventual response. "But be warned, any attempt to weaponize this knowledge will be met with immediate response." Over the next hour, Vikram presented his findings. He showed how human medical science had mastered the precise application of oxygen in everything from wound healing to cancer treatment. The Council's scientific advisors, initially skeptical, began showing signs of interest. Their own data streams filled the chamber with competing projections and analyses. "Remarkable," admitted Representative Zurich's, whose crystalline form had cautiously approached the containment field. "Your species has tamed one of the universe's most destructive forces, but the risks can be managed," Thalia interjected smoothly. "We propose a joint research initiative. Controlled environments, multiple safeguards, and complete transparency. Humanity brings our oxygen expertise, while the Council provides its advanced containment technology." Elder Newham's tentacles waved in what might have been agitation or excitement. "And what do humans gain from this arrangement? Besides proving we're not a threat?" Thalia smiled diplomatically. Access to the Council's medical database. There must be treatments there that could revolutionize our medicine as much as oxygen could help yours. As the negotiations continued, Vikram noticed something interesting in the Council's data streams. "Ambassador," he whispered, "look at their atmospheric processing stations. They're constantly struggling with oxygen contamination from developing worlds. We could help with that too." Thalia's eyes lit up. This was exactly the kind of leverage they needed. She was about to speak when alarms blared again, but these were different from the first set. "Emergency in Processing Station 7, the Council Eye announced. Oxygen leak detected. Containment failing." The Council members reacted with instant panic, but Vikram was already moving. "Let us help," he called out. "We can safely handle oxygen exposure. Your crews can't even approach the leak without risking their lives." First Speaker Thal's energy form pulsed rapidly. "You would risk yourselves to help us." "We're diplomats," Thalia said firmly. "This is what we do. Dr. Patel has extensive experience with oxygen safety protocols, and I've been trained for crisis situations. Release our containment field, and we'll show you humanity's true nature." The Council members conferred in rapid, untranslatable bursts of communication. Finally, Thal spoke. "Field deactivating. But be warned, one wrong move, and you'll never leave this station." As the containment field dropped, Vikram quickly donned his emergency kit, while Thalia retrieved protective gear from their diplomatic supplies. They moved with practiced efficiency, years of training paying off in this crucial moment. "Ready?" Thalia asked, securing her gear. Vikram nodded, double-checking his oxygen sensors. "Ready. Let's show them what humanity can really do." They strode toward the emergency, Council security drones hovering nervously around them. What had started as a diplomatic disaster was about to become a chance to demonstrate humanity's unique strengths. Sometimes, Vikram reflected, the best way to prove yourself wasn't through words but action. Behind them, the Council watched with a mixture of fear and fascination as the oxygen-breathing contamination they had feared transformed into their best hope for survival. Processing Station 7 hummed with dangerous energy as Thalia and Vikram approached. The station's emergency lighting cast an eerie purple glow through the corridors, reflecting off the crystalline walls. Behind them, a delegation of Council security drones maintained a safe distance, their sensors tracking every movement. Oxygen levels at 23% and rising, Vikram reported, studying his handheld analyzer. To the Council species, these readings spelled death. To humans, it was like a fresh mountain morning. Through the transparent walls, they could see the source of the crisis. A fractured processing conduit spewed invisible death, or as humans called it, breathable air, into the carefully regulated station environment. More concerning were the trapped station workers, sealed in emergency pods that were quickly running out of power. Those pods only have 30 minutes of atmospheric protection left, called Senior Engineer Calrics, their crystalline form vibrating with stress. They coordinated with the rescue effort from a safe distance. After that, the workers will be exposed. Thalia surveyed the scene with practiced calm. Dr. Patel options. "We need to seal that breach," Vikram said, already unpacking equipment from his kit. "But these tools, they're not designed for this kind of structural repair." A new voice joined their communication channel, soft and melodious, despite coming through the translator. "I might be able to help with that." A figure emerged from a secured section of the station. Even through the protective fields, her bioluminescent form cast a gentle blue glow. "I'm Chief Sciences Officer Nera." I've been studying your oxygen handling capabilities since your arrival. Thalia noticed Vikram's slight pause as he looked at the alien scientist. Even through layers of protective fields, there was something captivating about Naira's ethereal form. The standard repair protocols won't work. Naira continued, her form shifting in what might have been excitement. But if we combine your oxygen resistance with our phase shift technology, we could contain the leak at its source, Vikram finished, already seeing where she was going. But we'd need to modify the phase shifters to work with our equipment. Precisely. Naira's glow intensified. I can talk you through the modifications. What followed was an intricate dance of human ingenuity and alien technology. Under Naira's guidance, Vikram modified their equipment while Thalia coordinated with the trapped workers, keeping them calm. The council members watched in fascination as the humans worked comfortably in an environment they considered lethal. Remarkable. Naira commented as Vikram made a particularly clever adaptation. Your species' ability to innovate under pressure is impressive. Her translator might have been glitching, but Thalia could have sworn there was admiration in that voice. Almost there, Vikram reported, trying to hide his pleasure at the praise. Ambassador, I need you too. A violent shudder ran through the station. Warning lights flashed crimson. Secondary containment failing, the Station A announced. Cascade failure imminent. The modification isn't complete, Vikram said through gritted teeth. We need more time. Time is something we don't have, Thalia responded, making a quick decision. Dr. Patel, keep working. I'm going to buy us that time. Before anyone could stop her, Thalia sprinted toward the secondary containment controls. The council security drones buzzed in alarm, but she ignored them. Years of diplomatic training hadn't prepared her for manual override of alien technology, but basic engineering principles were universal. Ambassador, wait! Naira called out. The override sequence requires precise. Then guide me through it. Thalia interrupted, her fingers already flying over the alien controls. Because those workers have about 10 minutes left, and I'm not letting them die because of bureaucratic caution. Something in her tone must have convinced Naira. The alien scientist began calling out instructions, her voice steady despite the chaos. Together, they fought against failing systems and rising oxygen levels. Meanwhile, Vikram completed the modifications and approached the breach. The phase-shifted repair equipment hummed in his hands, ready to seal the leak that had caused so much panic. Engineering override accepted, the Station A announced, as Thalia's fingers entered the final sequence. Secondary containment stabilized. Now, Dr. Patel, Thalia called. Vikram activated the modified equipment. A shimmer of energy enveloped the fractured conduit, and slowly, inexorably, the breach began to seal. The station's oxygen sensors showed levels beginning to drop. Containment restored, the AI announced, oxygen levels returning to safe parameters. The trapped workers' pods began their automated release sequence as emergency teams moved in, crisis averted. But something more significant had happened. As Thalia watched Vikram and Naira excitedly discussing the successful modification of their technologies, she realized they had just shattered something far more important than a processing conduit. They had broken through the barrier of fear that had separated their species. First Speaker Thal's energy form appeared, pulsing with what seemed to be approval. Perhaps, they said slowly, we were too hasty in our initial judgment of humanity's unique attributes. We're full of surprises, Thalia smiled. But as she saw Vikram and Naira still deep in animated discussion, She wondered if some of those surprises might lead places none of them had expected. The weeks following the processing station incident brought rapid changes. The Council had established a joint research facility where human and alien scientists worked together, separated by sophisticated containment fields. At its heart, Vikram and Neera led groundbreaking research into controlled oxidation therapy. But not everyone welcomed this progress. Security breach in Research Lab Delta. The facility's AA blared one morning. Containment protocols compromised. Vikram looked up from his work to see emergency fields engaging throughout the lab. Through the crystalline walls, he could see Naira's form flickering with distress as her environment began to flood with oxygen. Someone's overridden the safety protocols. She gasped through the translator. The containment fields are reversing. Across the facility, similar scenes unfolded. Alien researchers found themselves exposed to increasing oxygen levels, while humans watched helplessly behind emergency barriers. Thalia's voice came through the emergency channel. This is no accident. The sabotage patterns suggest intimate knowledge of our joint protocols. Vikram's mind raced. The facility's conventional emergency systems were useless. They were designed to protect against oxygen leaks, not contain them. But perhaps... Naira, he called out, your phase shift research. Could we use it to create a temporary atmospheric bubble? Her luminescence pulsed weakly. Theoretically, but we never completed the trials. Theory will have to do. Vikram's fingers flew across his console, implementing the untested protocols. Everyone, gather close to Neera. Her containment field will be the anchor point. Through the chaos, something extraordinary happened. As Vikram worked to save his alien colleagues, other council members watched in astonishment. Humans, the very beings they had feared, were risking their lives to protect them from their own element. The phase shift bubble stabilized, creating safe zones throughout the facility. When security teams finally apprehended the saboteurs, a radical group opposed to human integration, they found themselves facing an unexpected sight. Humans and aliens working seamlessly together, their differences becoming their greatest strength. In the aftermath, First Speaker Thal called an emergency council session. The chamber had been modified now, allowing humans to attend safely while maintaining comfortable environments for all species. Today marks a turning point, Thal announced, their energy form pulsing with ceremonial patterns. What began as fear of human biology has led us to revolutionary breakthroughs in medical science, environmental control, and cross-species cooperation. Thalia stood proudly as the Council formally approved humanity's membership. But her attention was drawn to Vikram and Neera, who had found a way to work side by side despite their biological incompatibility. Through specially designed interfaces, they could interact closely while maintaining safe separation, a metaphor for the future they were building. The saboteurs feared that humans would destroy our way of life. Neera addressed the Council, her glow synchronized with her words. Instead, they shown us how to evolve it. Our differences aren't weaknesses, they're opportunities for growth. The facility was rebuilt with enhanced security, but also with improved integration between species. Research expanded beyond medical applications to environmental engineering, space exploration, and cultural exchange. What had begun as a diplomatic crisis had transformed into one of the greatest collaborative achievements in galactic history. As Thalia watched Vikram and Neera lead a new team of human and alien scientists, she remembered her first terrifying moments in the council chamber. They had come so far from that initial panic, learning that the very thing that made humans dangerous, their oxygen-breathing nature, could also make them invaluable allies. You know, Vikram said to Neera as they reviewed their latest research, their workstations, separated by a barely visible barrier of advanced alien technology, some of Earth's greatest breakthroughs came from exploring things others feared. Neera's form shimmered with what had become recognizable as amusement. Perhaps that's why your species fits so well here now. You teach us not to fear difference, but to embrace it. The stars shone differently now, Thalia thought, looking out at the galactic core. They weren't just distant lights anymore, but bridges between worlds, between species, between ways of life that had once seemed incompatible. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not by hiding what made them different, but by showing how those differences could transform the galaxy for the better. And in the end, what had seemed like their greatest weakness had become their greatest gift to the cosmos. Ready to start the next phase? Vikram asked, looking at his alien colleagues with pride. Always, Neera responded, her glow matching his smile. Above them, countless worlds turned, their atmospheres a testament to the infinite variety of life. And on each of them, beings looked up at the stars with new hope, knowing that somewhere out there, what made them different might be exactly what the galaxy needed. The end.